So unfortunately, one of the most common types of cases that we see is domestic violence arrests. And there's a big variety of cases we see. Some are very serious felonies, all the way down to a push or a slap, and everywhere in between. And when we're treating a domestic violence case, we don't want to look at one size fits all defense. We want to look at, was there some consequence that happened? You found out your spouse was cheating on you and it was a one-time thing. Was it because you just got notice of foreclosure of the house? There's all sorts of little one-time triggers. Is your domestic violence arrest the result of some alcohol or drug addiction problem? Is there a problem with anger? Some folks have mental health problems. Some folks have a problem with anger because of whatever, how they grew up or something like that. We don't just treat domestic violence cases as one size fits all. At Strongest Defense, what we do is we look at each individual. We see whether they're wrongly accused or rightly accused. And if the charges are true, what can we do to best get you out of the situation to make sure it's a short time that you're with us and we get this behind you and move on? One of the most common defenses we see to a domestic violence arrest is when the other person's just flat out lying about you. Now, the reasons they might be lying are most commonly one of two things. Either A, they're in some other affair with somebody else, or B, more likely, they're about to file divorce and they want to have an advantage in the divorce case. You see, if you're convicted of domestic violence, you can't possibly obtain spousal support against the other side. And so if they throw in a false allegation, they save themselves a whole bunch of money. So one of the things we look at is there a motive behind the false allegation made? Is there a reason? And then we drill into that reason. We get the defense and we show the court that this is a baloney allegation. This is not true. And it's done because they're trying to gain some advantage in divorce court. So, restraining orders are another issue that comes up in domestic violence cases. Oftentimes, the police officer will encourage the other side to file a restraining order. The DA's office actually has an entire unit which has the sole purpose of writing up these requests for restraining orders and helping the other side through the court process. We've defended many of these types of cases. It's important to separate out the criminal part of the case from the actual domestic violence restraining order because there are defenses that sometimes work better when you use the criminal case first and then do the domestic violence restraining order, or on the other hand, when you have the domestic violence restraining order as kind of a way to find out information to help you on the criminal case. In domestic violence restraining orders, you also lose certain rights. So while they can't put you in jail, they can take away your gun rights for 5 years, 10 years, or sometimes life. They can take away your right to go see your kids' ball games because your ex-spouse is there. They can take away your right to shop in the same store. And I've seen people lose their jobs because they used to work with their ex-spouse. When you have a domestic violence restraining order filed against you, you don't want to sit back and just let it happen. You want to give us a call at Strongest Defense and let our team defend you, get this off your record, and moving on in your life. So in domestic violence cases, one of the things we see most commonly is the other side is just flat out lying about you. Well, how do you prove that? Because most situations are he said something and she said something. So how we prove that the other person is lying can be multiple different ways. One, we look at your history. Do you have a history of violence? No. Well, that goes against the lie that was made. Were there other sources nearby? Your kids down the hall didn't hear anything. Your neighbors with the thin walls of your condo didn't hear anything. We look for things like that. We also look for, ironically, social media. It's amazing the number of people who post things on their social media about what just happened in their personal life, and we use that information to disprove the allegation is true. The day after, allegedly, there's some domestic violence, they're saying they're having a great day and the life is great. And we take that off their Facebook and show that as exhibit number 1 to the jury. There's also, when people tell lies, they don't think about the consequences of their lies. The only thing about the lie itself, not what also must be true if that lie is true. And 9 times out of 10, that's how we prove they're lying, is because the story they make up can't stand up to the scrutiny, not only of the judge, but the 12 jurors who are sitting there watching. With domestic violence cases, there are civil consequences and there are potential criminal consequences. For the most part, you want to worry about the criminal charges because those can put you actually in jail or actually into prison. Those can also result in fines and fees and make you go to classes and be on probation for 3 to 5 years. With civil consequences, for the most part, what you lose is your gun rights, your right to possess firearms for 5 years, sometimes 10 years, or even longer. If a person renews their domestic violence restraining order, you can actually lose your right to possess guns for the rest of your life. So the civil consequences, while they are less severe, initially, if you violate a domestic violence restraining order, for example, then that civil consequence becomes a criminal case. And by the way, the criminal consequence of violating a restraining order can be 6 months to a year in jail, potentially. We'd like to avoid that, so make sure if you do have a restraining order filed against you, that until we get that order to go away, make sure you comply with all the terms of the order. So if you have any questions about domestic violence, give us a call. We have an unbeatable record of success on these cases. We see the number of people who lie in these cases is more than any other case type. So give us a call at Strongest Defense. We want to help you out.